Okay, welcome to Bitrix24 Live. I'm Damien Edwards. I'm the Commercial Manager of Bitrix24 Gold Partners Interface. We are implementation partners, so we can provide, firstly we can do all the pre-sale support, so we can provide a demo, we can answer questions about the different editions of Bitrix, and we have a full implementation service including customization of the system, training of the users, and we have a telephone support service as well. So whether you're on the cloud or self-hosted edition, we can demo, we can implement for you, and we can support you as well. Going to be answering questions. If you want to post questions in on the chat window, then we will answer those questions. We've also had some questions in previously in the week, which we will answer to start off with. But if you want to post your questions into the chat window, then we'll go on for as long as we get questions from you. You can post questions on any subject or subject area of Bitrix24. It's a big product. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of things that are, most things are relatively easy to set up, but they do take some either time to learn, or there might be some that really need to dig into the documentation to understand it. So if you want a quick answer, then post your questions in the chat window on this session, and we'll answer those for you today. So look what questions we've had in previously. So we've had in ahead of today. Can you tell me if Outlook or Exchange can be synced to the cloud version of Bitrix, or is the online version required? So no, you can sync Outlook and Exchange. Well, it depends what your... So I think on Outlook and Exchange, essentially you've got email, calendar, and I think you've got kind of a task manager as well. So you certainly can't sync the task manager, but Outlook email, Outlook calendars can both be synced. So if we have a look at mail, I guess, first of all, if you click into your mail link on the left hand side, you've got an option for Outlook and you can add your details in there. There's some options here at the bottom around what to do with incoming emails. So the main reason why you would want to sync emails or to connect your Outlook account to Bitrix is so that you can copy emails, incoming and outgoing emails that you're making inside Outlook into the correct contact in the CRM. So you can do that. Route emails from existing clients to assigned CRM managers. Oh no, it's not that one. Link to CRM. So essentially you click on the check button here to link to CRM, and choose from these other options here what it is you want to do. So there is one here, create lead for incoming messages from new email addresses. So that one, depending on the sort of email activity you have, that can mean you can get quite a lot of leads, because each email is creating a lead, so quite often people untick that one. But essentially what it will do, we have a look in the CRM, see if we've got any connected up. So if I go into my contacts here, so it will sync to leads and contacts, I believe. If we go into a contact, and we've got some email addresses in here, and if we scroll down, we should see there's quite a lot of SMSs on here. We've been testing, I guess, some SMS, but you can see an email here that's been synced in. So it will sync in outgoing emails, so it will send the email to the recipient. It'll also copy that email into Bitrix, find the right contact in Bitrix, and store it in the activity here. And incoming emails as well. If you want to reply from here, then you can do that. You can do that from Bitrix as well. So most people seem to want to continue to use their Outlook. They're used to that, works on their phones and everything. So you can do that, but if you prefer to use it inside Bitrix, then you can do that. You do get email templates and things in Bitrix, but either way, you'll get a copy of that email synced to the correct contact inside here. I think one consideration that you need to think about is that there's permission levels inside the CRM. Generally, you give if you're in a sales team, you give permission to everybody else in your team to view your customer contact records for the purpose of covering you if you're not available, or so that you don't create duplicate records for the same customer. So generally, these records would be open to a certain number of people in your organisation. That means that they can read your incoming and outgoing emails to this contact as well. It does also pose the potential problem that a colleague in your office can create a record and put in an email address of somebody who's not a contact, and then start to see email traffic to that contact. So there's sort of a way that people can see other people's email activity. So you just need to be aware of the permission structure, and we can help set that up for you so that it's right for your business. But people within your organisation that have access to the same contact records in the CRM are going to be able to see those email conversations. So the only other one in terms of Outlook is calendars, and Bitrix will sync calendars to, let's have a look, see, where's our calendars? Okay, so we can sync, I'm not too sure where it is now, we can sync to Outlook calendars. Too sure why it's not in that list, but it is a standard feature to sync calendars to Outlook. So would mean that you can create events in Outlook and they'll copy into your Bitrix calendar, or you can create an event, inside Bitrix, and it will copy back to Outlook. So whichever one you're looking at, email or calendars, then they will automatically sync. Okay, is there a way to get PDFs that are attached to a lead to show as a preview rather than as a download? PDFs that are attached to a lead. Let's have a look. Okay, let's have a look. So if you go into your leads, let's have a look. You want to be able to preview. I mean, you generally can preview, and probably can't test it right now, but I mean, the two ways of syncing, adding a file to a lead would be to create a field. See if we can add create a field and then add the document to that field, or to post it. Let's give me an image there, or to post a document into the activity stream. To be honest, I can't check it because I don't have a PDF. But if you're saying it doesn't work, I mean, you can post a document into here as well. If you're saying that a preview doesn't work, then it doesn't work. There's no other way of doing it. Yeah, you would have to download it. But I thought, I mean, when you go into your drive, you can generally see if we've got a PDF in there. Let's see if there's anything in. No, I'm going to spend some time looking for a PDF. I don't think we have one in here. Or docx. But generally, inside the drive spaces, when you click on a PDF, then you can usually, in fact, when you click on a Word document, you can preview it. So you can preview without downloading documents inside the drive space, but attached to a lead, then if you say you can't, then you probably can't. Doc design should really be improved for better user interactive, better UX options should be considered. So what sort of UX options do you think should be considered for it? Let us know, and we can deal with those. I've connected emails via the leads section for sending to a client. How do I add a signature to email there? To be honest, I don't think you can currently add a signature to an email as such, kind of on a bulk method, but you can create email templates. So if we go to one of the contacts, then although I know there's some updates around that, I don't know whether maybe you can now. But if I go into my emails, then I can create a template. So I've got one here called footer. That's not very good, but it might be that actually you create an email footer like this. You can add a logo and things. So you access your template up here. But yeah, for it to automatically add a footer, to be honest, it didn't used to do that, and it may be that that's still not an option to do, to be able to do that. Is it possible to approve multiple workflow submissions at once instead of approving 10 things? Can they all be summarized into one approval? So let's have a look. So if we go into workflows, and I'm afraid I'm probably going to have to say, let's look, maybe you can do more than one approval. So if you go into your workflows, you'll have a series of different approvals. If you're getting a lot, you'll see a list of those. You can create a filter for them. So if you've got a workflow for a certain type, certain business process, so let's say you look for this certain business process, I'll do my filter, or maybe I want to look for all that are in progress or all that were created on a particular date. So we've got the sort of filter fields, those are the total filter fields we have. Might be that actually you just go expenses and use that as a filter. It's not brought me anything up, but you might want to create your filter. You can then save your filtered item filter up here in one of these tabs, and then when you've got a list of quote approvals or project approvals or leave requests or something like that that appears here, I can see why you might want to approve them all. Let's have a look if you can do that. Yeah, so you can select them. You can select them by using this to select all. I can then choose to deselect some if I want to do that. And you can approve or decline those by okay, so yeah, it looks like some can't be approved. Okay, so you can't approve. Let's have a look. Let's look into some of these. So some you won't be able to approve in a list view like that, because let's have a look. I think it's because they probably requesting further information. It might be that you should be able to approve most types of business processes by selecting them and approving using this bulk action at the bottom. But on some business processes, it's not just a simple approval, they're requesting further information. So if they are requesting further information, you can't do that in a multiple bulk, in a bulk manner. Is there a way to export comments on leads, contacts, activity stream to Excel? So you can't export activity like that on the cloud edition. If you have a self-hosted edition, there's more ways of accessing the database to export. So I guess you're referring to all the activity. So if we were to go into contacts, then it is possible to do your filter of contacts. Choose using the settings button here which columns you want to display, and then when you've done your filter at the top, chose your columns, you can export those contacts to CSV or Excel, but it will export this information. I mean, you've got any fields that are available to view in this list view here, you can export. But if you want to export export comments, if you want to export all the activity on the right hand side, then you can't do that on the cloud edition, but on the self-hosted there's more options to access this information from the database. Can a workflow form have separators for long or multiple forms? So the workflow form, does it have separators? No, I don't think it does. I don't think the workflow form has separators. I think the CRM forms have separators, and they also have the ability to have sort of dependent fields. So you can create a CRM form, and then depending on what people answer, you can then present them with additional questions. So that's in CRM forms. If you wanted to create a CRM form, then like that, you can do that. It's pretty flexible. Workflow forms. Let's have a look. Then, like we've got one here for leave approval. So let's just have a quick look at where those fields sit. So if we go into our workflow directory, into workflows, we find leave approval. Where is it going? Leave approval. And if you go into actions and customize fields, so actually you create your fields in here, but there isn't a designer tool as such to change the layout. I mean, you can change the sort order so that they run in the right sort of order, but there isn't a way to add in kind of separator fields and things like that. There's no way of adding dependent fields and things like that into that section. If you really want, we do a lot of forms. We've done some forms recently for a business that does have is collecting a lot of information, and they want the forms to be split over, kind of paginated over a series of different pages, and we create that as a custom field. They have a self-hosted edition of Bitrix. They wanted the forms to look slightly differently, to work slightly differently, so we create it as custom. Can be done if you have the self-hosted, but not as a standard feature, no. Let's just put our details up there. So if you want to get in touch with us afterwards for a demo, we can demo the whole system for you, or more usually we'll ask you some questions about what it is you want to get out of the system, find out really what it is, you know, that you're looking for, and then we'll tailor a demo to what your requirements are. So even if you have a very custom process and you want to see how that would work in Bitrix, we'll ask you to describe that, and then we'll set up and present how that would work inside Bitrix. So that's worth doing if you want to see, you know, if it's the right tool for you. Get in touch with us on any of those details. There on the screen, sales@intraface.com, or office telephone number. Can a work time report be exported in Excel? Hope I'm not going to say no again to this. Let's have a look. So yeah, it doesn't look like actually. Oh, not in work time. No. So if you haven't got an export button, then it's not available. Again, you know, as with anything, if you're on the self-hosted, you can do that sort of thing with a little bit of customization, but not as standard. No. What of a workflow that automatically sends a birthday mail to your contacts? You could do that. Yeah, you could create a business process that looked at the current date and then looked at a date in the contacts, provided you've got their birthday in a date field in a contact. You could create a business process that looked to match those, and should, when a match occurs, to send an email. But it's not standard. Unfortunately, we'd have to build that process for you. If you want to get in touch with us, send an email to sales@Interface, then we could possibly give you a quote to build that. I would have to look into whether that would require self-hosted or whether it can be done on the cloud. I'd suspect it can be done on the cloud with a business process, but I couldn't show you it today, unfortunately. So regarding mail signatures, when using webmail, in the button next to the new message button, you can define a signature. Okay, thanks. Thank you for that. In the button next to the new mail, you can define a signature. That's good. Thanks for setting that up. Thanks for letting me know about that. So we don't have mail set up on this one, but so it might. Yeah, I guess it's in that page. Let's have a look. We've got it set up on this. Two demo sites open here. See if it's set up webmail. Oh, okay. Here we are. Okay, thanks. Thanks for that. So edit signature allows you to create a signature in there. So I would expect that once you've created your signature, if you're sending an email from here, or if you're sending an email from the CRM, then it's going to add that signature. So that's really good. Thanks for that information. Okay, post your questions in the question box if you've got any more questions at all. Can I customize the mobile app? So the mobile app is a free to use application available on iPhone and Android. Generally can't customize these things, but if you are on the self-hosted edition, and I've mentioned this a few times, but if you're on the self-hosted edition, then there is an area inside the control panel. So you have this control panel section. There is an area inside there that allows you to do some configuration, some basic configuration. Beyond that, we've done customization to the mobile app, which requires custom coding. So there is some configuration you can do. So I think what you can do is remove certain items, basically take out certain sections. If you didn't want to see the drive and CRM, for example, then you could remove that. But yeah, we can do further customization to it if you want to, but it does require, unfortunately, again, it does require the self-hosted edition of Bitrix24. Does the on-premise update automatically, and when will I receive the latest Boston updates from Bitrix? So the cloud edition updates automatically. So we'll start with Boston updates. So the latest product presentation was entitled Boston, and there's a number of product updates which are available, which are coming through, a lot of new features coming through, and they take time and they're staggered, and I think they'll be available on cloud accounts over the next 3 months, and then about 3 months later for self-hosted. So that could be up to 6 months to get all those Boston features available on the self-hosted. If you watch the presentation, if you go to Bitrix24 on YouTube, then there is a slide on there that does give you an indication of when each feature is going to become available, but you'd have to wait for 2 to 3 months after the cloud's launch to get that feature on the self-hosted. The self-hosted doesn't update automatically, so that's one kind of useful feature for you, especially if you're customizing the system. You're probably not going to want to apply updates without first checking that they're not going to cause any problem to your system. With the cloud, you can't actually what we would class as customize it. You can configure it, you can create custom fields, you can create custom page layouts, create custom business processes, but no updates will break any of those. So updates come through automatically and they're not a problem. On the on the self-hosted, you have a platform update section, and if we look on this one here, you can see that there's a lot of updates available. I can install all updates, or I can choose which ones we want to update or apply. You also have the option on here to allow only stable or to also allow beta versions. So if you're wanting to get an update, a fix for something, or if you want to get a new product release earlier, then you can switch to beta versions and you can get that sooner. What we would recommend, and we would do with most of our bigger clients, is on the self-hosted, is to have a staging environment. We would generally actually have a dev environment, then we'd have a pre-production, and then we'd have a production environment. So we'd have a development area where we do the development work, customization work. We then deploy it to pre-production for testing, and then when you're happy with it, it goes to the live environment. So if we're doing customizations, we have a very rigid, structured process for deploying those changes to your production site, and we would also manage updates that come from Bitrix as well, so we would apply them as and when it was appropriate. We can apply it, say if you've got those different environments, then we could apply them to the pre-production. You can test whether you're happy, whether it's caused any problems at all before it goes to the live. So if you've got the self-hosted, we can set up all those sort of structures for you. That's not standard inside Bitrix. It requires quite a lot of custom scripts which we have developed, which allow us to deploy certain areas of the system from dev to pre-production to production sites. Makes customization much better. It's the process of doing customization and deploying them much better. So if you're doing customization or you're just concerned about updates and what they're going to look like or what they're going to do to your live site, then we'll create those those development and pre-production environments to manage all that for you. Can I use CRM marketing to send a campaign to specific clients rather than a blast email? Specific clients. Well, let's have a look. See if we can find. So, I mean, you can't do it from a client record. You can't choose to send them a marketing campaign. I can see where that might be quite useful. Let's just have a quick look in there. So if you go into a contact, then we'll have a look at a couple of different ways. So inside a contact, you can send them an email from here, and you can choose a template, but it's going to be a text, essentially a text email. You can't choose to send them an HTML email, marketing email that you've created from here, unless you create it as a business process and then you choose to send it from here. So you could create a business process. Maybe we'll have a quick look at that. So if you go into the CRM and settings and into automation, into business processes, into your contacts, add a template under contacts. So call it mail shot for XXXXX. Tick untick this box. So what we want to do is send this email only when we choose to send it. So when we manually decide to send that, and do that, and then pull in an email here, if we open up the email, the settings of the email, you can choose to put HTML. You can put HTML code in this box now. So the sender can be where would you find this field? Sender can be, so we don't want the senders can be could be hard coded in as an email address. The recipient looks like it by default, so it comes in as the email that's associated with the contact. So we put that in there. It is, yeah. So you can put your subject line, put your content of your email, and put HTML in there if you want. If you want to be and that then would, when you send that email, if we just go back to our contacts, you could post that email into the activity stream here. So again, you go into here, you choose what you want to do, trigger that process, send them an email, and it could post a copy of that email in there, so you can see that that's happened. You could even, if you wanted to kind of update a tick box on the left hand side, say that they've received, they've had this particular type of email. So that's one way of doing it. It's not really connecting it to your CRM marketing as such. So if you want to do an email and send it from one particular contact, then you can go into email campaigns here, choose your the template that you've created, and then create your segment. You can create a segment, I guess, that's as little as one person. So I could go into here and find, using the filter, I could find a particular individual, and then we could send that as a segment. And if it's just, but it seems like a long way of doing it. So create as a segment, create as a business process, or just send it as an email, but your plain text email from the CRM module. I would really like to understand how won deals are calculated. I sell my product banner ad for 2 months, $100 each month. How do I create a deal so it calculates it for each month? I sell my product banner ad for 2 months, $100 each month. So you could create a repeat deal, but it's not a repeat deal, is it? You're just repeating it. Let's have a look if you can create a repeat deal that repeats just for 2 months. Let's look in our deals, go back into our deals list. Sorry, product for banner. Sorry, $100 each. How do I create a deal so it calculates for each month 100? I think really essentially you need to create, because you want to look at the value in a particular time period for that particular month, $100 for this month and $100 for the following month. So there's no really simple way of splitting one single deal to split that value over 2 months. So you're really going to have to create two deals with two start dates on it, so that you can report then the value to a particular month period. I think we would potentially, you could do this inside a business process as well. Might be simpler. Let's see what we've got set up in here. Maybe we could set this up. So I think you could, if you had a business process that you ran from the company, it could generate the deals, and you'd be able to access it here. You'd be called something like XYZ deal 1, and you click it, and it would run the process, and it would create the deal deal 1 for this month, deal 2 for the next month. You could also create the business process so that when you click on this link, it presents you with some information here. You might be like, what's your delivery date? When do I need to deliver this by? You put your date in. Who's going to be the sales manager that's in charge of this? So you can create these fields pretty much like an order form from the CRM company field. Create your order form, and then when the sales guy clicks submit, it will go ahead and create those deals. Yeah, I think, you know, if it doesn't sound like you can split the value in a deal over 2 months without creating 2 deals. You either create 2 deals manually, or you create a business process that would kind of manage this for you. So it might be that you've actually got a drop down in this field that says, it might be you put the value in, what's the monthly value in that field, and the next field it's how many months does this run for, and then there'd be a drop down that would say 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, and you'd select the amount of months, and based on that it would create the deals for however many months you've done. That would be, I think, because it's a little bit unusual, in order that people create these the right way each time, using a form like this inside the CRM to input an order essentially would be the best way, because it triggers a business process that would work the right way each time. Let's put our contact details up there. Okay, let's have a look. So regarding the deals, okay, but if I win deal for next month, not too sure what you mean, but I mean, you could create a form that creates the deals. The deals could be set at live, or they could be set automatically straight to 1. I don't know whether is it because you want to create deals as opportunities, or you create deals as kind of 1 orders, depending. But using a business process and a form might be the best way for you to do that. Okay, how do I set permission structures on individual files that I've stored in a company drive? Let's have a look at that. So when we select a file, either from there, click access your access permissions. So you can do this on folders and files. So if I click on there, click on access permissions, then it shows me who has the access to this. Obviously I've got to have access. I've got edit access here, I've got administrator access here, so I can actually then, you know, take people out of this as well, or change their access level. You've got to have the right permission to be able to do that in the first place. You've got to have the right permission to be able to add new users as well, but I can add these additional users. Let's see, I mean, I think you can add by department as well, so, you know, it's quite flexible in terms of what you can do, as you'd expect. So you can do it like that, straightforward. Is it possible to set a maximum session time? So it's not on the cloud. I think on the cloud you're never logged out unless there's a significant change to your IP address, or you turn your machine off, log yourself out. Same would happen on the self-hosted, but you can, in addition to that, probably set some maximum session times. Let's just have a look. If you go into the control panel, this is only available on the cloud, on the self-hosted edition. If you go to your user groups, so in the self-hosted edition you have your list of users available in the back end here, and you can manage those users, i.e. deactivate them or activate them or change their contact details and things. But you also have user groups, which allows you to do some additional permission settings. So, I mean, firstly with user groups, you can set what areas of the system they get access to, so you can prevent them from seeing certain things in quite a lot of details, not just the CRM, but all sorts of areas of the system. So that can be quite useful if you want to do it from a permissions point of view, but it also can just tidy up the system so that they're not coming across lots of stuff that really they don't need to use. Session time, session maximum lifetime in minutes. So yeah, you can. So this one has a maximum lifetime in minutes of 30 minutes as it stands. So you can set a maximum session time. You can do quite a lot of other things in the self-hosted as well. Minimum password length on this demo site, very, very short. But you can require them to have certain password lengths. You can require them to have, in fact, we've got a standard profiles which you can switch in and out of. So if we go to high profile, then it requires a much longer password. It also requires that you have those unusual characters inside. Here we go. Passwords must contain punctuation marks, these sort of characters. You can select those sort of things. So you can improve the security based on the user group that the user's in. Different people in different user groups. Some people have higher security levels than others in terms of what they're required to do. So as you raise one of these, the session time, so you can create a maximum session time if that's what you want to do. Can an extranet user log in via the mobile app? Yeah, anyone can log in via the mobile app. It's a free app to download. You can access the system through a browser or through the mobile app. Doesn't matter who you are. You get limited, the app. There's some limitations on what you can do inside the app, as you'd expect in an app. It's designed to work on a mobile and doesn't have every single feature. Particularly if you're an admin, it doesn't have all the settings. You can't change things as you go into the browser version. But you can access inside the app, yes. Can I turn off call recording? I don't know this feature in my system. Yes, I think so. So, presume you're talking about telephony. If you go into your telephony section, see if we can find it. Let's see if it's in here, telephone settings. To be honest, it is in here, and this layout's changed recently, so where would it be? Telephone users. I probably won't go through all this. Configure, let's go if it's in the configuration settings, yes. Call recording and rating. Save recordings of all calls. So you can turn, I don't know whether it's on or off by default, but you can turn that, deselect that item. If you are selecting that call recording, it does say here, make sure you don't violate company policy or local laws. One thing you usually have to do is play a message to say your call is being recorded. You can automatically do that by ticking this box, and that will play the message at the beginning of all calls. But you can certainly turn it off if you have it turned on. Then, of course, it records those calls and it saves them somewhere like this. So stores them against the contact as an audio file, stores them in the activity stream by date. So in this feed you get all the email integration if you're setting that up, you get all the telephone calls, you get any notes that people have added manually. If you're using SMS, you'll get those as well. So you get a full history. If you want to integrate your telephony, integrate your email, then you're going to get a full history of all communication with that contact. inside this activity stream. So it's worth connecting those up if you need to know, if you need to have that full history. It does mean that you've got to, of course, call them from the system here, not, so unless you're integrating with your PBX system, and then you can call them from your desk phones and it will sync up. So we'll look at, just put our contact details up there on the screen if you want to have a demo with us, then contact us. Or if you have Bitrix and you want some training, or if you're having problems or you want some support, we have annual support contracts, which are telephone support service. You get put in touch with a dedicated point of contact who will learn your business and what you're trying to achieve, and they're available on the phone throughout the year to talk about it's a fixed cost. Having that for the whole year, it's a fixed cost. We don't charge per hour, so it's really useful. Get a lot out of it, especially if you've got self-hosted. Then it's kind of, we always say it's mandatory, really to consider having a proper support service, telephone support service. Okay, is it possible to capture the location of my sales team who are out visiting clients? So the way you can capture the location of people is two methods really. There's IP address that they're using to access the system, and there's GPS. We can integrate GPS, but it would require a self-hosted edition. We've done that before, so it does give you good location information, and that's essentially, that can be live information. With IP address, then IP address doesn't is either gives you quite a wide area or can give you inaccurate information. So somebody can be using an IP address for various reasons, could be using an IP address that actually is from a different city to where they're actually located. So it's not particularly accurate information. That said, the best solution really for you would be and if this may or may not work for you, but we developed a system for a business who had consultants who worked on client sites, and we created a dashboard that allowed them to add the IP address of their client's location into the contact record. So this would be my client. I have a field here that would be add IP address or addresses. So I'd add the IP addresses of that contact, and we created a dashboard that did actually tell us when users were logged in from this IP address. So because they had a limited number of clients, they're able to do this, adding IP addresses manually. Then we were able to tag them together so that we could tell, we allowed them to tell exactly where all their consultants were, which client site their consultants were, so they could see pretty much when they got there and when they left. But just using the standard IP ranges to see the location is not going to be accurate information. So there's problems with doing that type of work, but it's possible. There's some solutions which are available. Okay, we don't have any more questions, but if you want to post some more questions in, we have a bit of time left. Otherwise, if you subscribe to, in order to receive notifications about live sessions, there's normally 2 of us here. We do this every week, and we normally have our support manager here who's actually a bit more technical about business processes. So one of those questions earlier, which involved a business process, we could normally answer on these sessions. We would do in the future. So if you subscribe to us on Intraface, INTREFACE on YouTube, and click the notifications button. If you do the same for Bitrix24, then you'll receive notifications about when we do a live session. It's the same time on a Thursday every week. So, is there a way to export comments on leads contact activity to Excel? I've had that question. I think we've answered that question. Is there a way to export comments? No, you can't export comments. Can't export activity. You can only export the standard fields. So these fields on the left you can export. These on the right you can't export unless you have a self-hosted edition. Then all this information is stored in a database somewhere within the user interface on Bitrix. There is no way on the cloud to facility to export comments and activities, but on the self-hosted you have access to the whole database. So there's always ways of running reports to see that. So possible on the self-hosted, but you need to set up a custom export process. Okay. I don't think we have any more questions. So if you want to subscribe, then you'll know when we're doing live sessions again. But if you want to watch our webinars, you can go to YouTube and watch recordings, or if you go to Bitrix24.com, bottom of the homepage, you can register for new webinars there. But yeah, I don't think we have any questions, so we will leave it there for now and hope to see you next time.